we see this wonderful cave, under which, inside which, he engaged in doing his sadhana. He absorbed in doing his sadhana. The nature of his sadhana was meditating on the Brahma, Parama Brahma nature. Sitting inside this wonderful cave, in the peaceful surroundings, he absorbed in doing Brahma sadhana for quite some time. Also engaged in writing some of his bhashyam, some of his commentary. So that's why we also see the deities were installed afterwards. Here also we can see some emblem of the book in his hand. So he engaged in writing some commentaries on the Vedic literature, Vedanta, mainly Vedanta Bhashya. Basically, was peacefully and devotedly absorbed in the meditation of the Parama Brahma form of the Supreme Lord. This is the brief history of this place. The original cave. You can imagine when he came over this place many years back. कितना साल होंगे शंकराचार्य यहाँ आए? 2000 years back. Around 2000 years before. He came over this place on some top part of the Himalayan mountains. You can imagine how difficult it was at that time to come over to this place. Hardly there was any inhabitants of the people around this place. Hardly. There were some mountain people here and there. But during that time, it was so difficult to come up to such site up on the Himalayan mountain. He came because he was a great yogi. He also naturally had great mystical yogic power. And during the winter season, he also remained here, with his special ability, and continued his sadhana. If not all the winters, not winters every year, but certain winters, he also stayed here. शीतकाल में तो ठंडा में भी उन्होंने यहाँ पर स्टे किया, साधना किया 5 years. Regardless of summer and winter, जब चारों तरफ बर्फ पड़ रहे थे, उन्होंने यहाँ पे साधन में निमग्न होकर रहा. अच्छी बात. When it was snowing all around, heavy rainfall, snowing all around, very cold, he was still living inside this cave, absorbed in his sadhana, performing his great Parama Brahma meditation, and he received more and more divine realizations. that of Parama Brahma character. Parama Brahma character of God realization received. And as I mentioned, he was being creative according to his special inspirations, spiritual inspirations. Also wrote commentaries, composed beautiful spiritual literatures while living here. Adi Shankaracharya place, Adi Shankaracharya cave. So the caretaker of this place kept it as it is almost, without making any artificial renovation. That's what he said. I just kept it, tried to maintain the original way. Yes.
Do they stay here in the winter? Do they stay here?
Yes, that's what he said. शीतकाल ठंडी में भी यहाँ पे रहा ना, तुम तो यहाँ का केयर टेकर हो ना,
हाँ
यहाँ का केयर टेकर हो लो, हेरिटेज वंशाक्रमिक तरीका से तुम ये देखभाल कर रहे हो ना, हाँ। तो शंकराचार्य जी ने यहाँ शंकराचार्य विंटर में ठंडी काल में भी अवस्थान किए हैं,
यहीं रहे।
Inside the cave it was okay, warm. He could manage. He also had a mystical yogic power. He was not ordinary person, not ordinary spiritualist. It is true, many saintly persons also accepted him as the incarnation, as a direct incarnation of Lord Shiva. He had Shaiva power. He had power in him from the Lord Shiva. A great yogi, great scholar. Preached Mayavada, impersonalistic philosophy for certain purpose, as I explained today in the morning. Anyway, Mahaprabhu taught us. Mahaprabhu indicated to us to give all due respects to Adi Sankaracharya. Adi Sankaracharya, giving him all due respects as a prominent acharya who was helping to promote certain Vedic, high-class Vedic spiritual cultures, Vedic spiritual traditions in many ways. In other words, he was supporting and promoting many of the Vedic traditional ways, which was under the mostly invasion of the Buddhist, some sort of Buddhist preaching, where Shankaracharya is known to be restoring back some of the traditional Vedic cultures of worshipping of God through deity's form, temple form, and worshipping Supreme God with the hymns of the Veda by chanting and singing the very holy hymns, holy hymns and the verses of the Vedas. So Shankaracharya ji, he supported and greatly promoted all those. So almost restored the Vedic traditional civilization, culture, theistic culture. In this way, Mahaprabhu appreciated that part of the Shankaracharya. Shankara Sakshat. Shankaram Sakshat. This way. So many saintly personalities accepted him as the empowered incarnation of Lord Shiva. we also find different levels of the manifestation of Lord Shiva. In the Rudra form, he is manifesting as a great destroyer, annihilator in the form of Rudra, Lord Shiva. Same Lord Shiva. So in Tamoguna, Lord Shiva manifests as a great destroyer, annihilator of the whole universe. When the time of the pralayam, total annihilation or destruction comes, by which force all that annihilation and destruction takes place, that comes from Lord Shiva, Rudra form. And in Rajoguna, he manifests as great complementer, supporter of the whole creation. Creation under the influence of Mahamaya potency, because we know whole material world and universe is actually created under the influence of Mahamaya potency of Lord Krishna. Mayaja Srijattada, this way. So I repeat, the whole material universe, that huge material universe, all created by the Maya potency under the, with the effect of the Bahiranga potency of Krishna called Mahamaya potency. Whereas whole spiritual universe created by Yogamaya potency, Antaranga potency of Krishna. And all the jivas, living beings, all living beings are the product of marginal potency, Krishna's marginal potency. Thus everything is the production, result of the three kinds of potency of Krishna: Bahiranga Maya Shakti, Tatastha Jiva Shakti, marginal potency wherefrom jiva souls, common jiva souls are emanating, are born from. They are born from that marginal potency, and finally and supremely it is Sarupa Shakti, Antaranga Shakti of Krishna, eternal, the highest eternal, divine potency, transcendentally divine potency of Krishna, Krishna's own potency, by which his whole infinite, the whole Dharma, his whole abodes, spiritual abodes, divine abodes, Vaikuntha, Goloka, Dharma, all being sustained and maintained, taken care of by his Antaranga Shakti, I repeat. So the final supreme divine potency of Krishna is called Sarupa Shakti or Antaranga Shakti, which is mostly conducted by, a great expansion of which Sarup Shakti is Yogamaya Shakti. She helps to be conducting many special pastimes, all pastimes of Radha Krishna. And there are other expansions on the plane of perfection called Goloka, which is decorated, which is qualified by infinite power, beauty, blissfulness, all transcendental nature. Highest manifestation of divinity are found all around unlimitedly in Krishna's super excellent divine abode, Goloka, which is completely taken care of, maintained and sustained, promoted by Krishna's Sarupa Shakti. So thus, these three kinds of Krishna's potencies are taking care of everything. तुम भी कुछ बताओ इस प्लेस का जो हिस्ट्री है, इतिहास, तुम्हें तो जानकारी है ना, कुछ बताओ, अंग्रेजी में बता सकते हो तो बता दो।
आपको बता दो, बहुत तरह से एक्सप्लेन।
अच्छा ठीक है, तो तुम हिंदी में बताओ, संक्षिप्त रूप में बताओ।
हाँ ठीक है। ये है कि आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य जी महाराज जी यहाँ पे आज से 2000 साल पहले यहाँ पर आए थे।
He says, I am translating him, interpreting. Adi Guru Shankaracharya Maharaj ji came over to this place around 2000 years ago.
तो उनका जो घर पड़ता है, प्लेस वो है पड़ता है केरल में, ये कालड़ी नामक में, केरल कालड़ी में
Kerala, in the village, Kalari. Kerala, the village called as Kalari, he was born. That was his residence, yes.
इनके पिता का नाम शिव गुरु था।
His father's name was Shiva Guruji.
अब माता का नाम आर्यम्बा।
माता का नाम, mother's name was
आर्यम्बा। तो शंकराचार्य जी ने
इस प्लेस का जो महत्व वही बताओ।
अच्छा, इधर ही का बताएं।
नहीं, शंकराचार्य का जीवनी तो बहुत बड़ा होगा, हमें जाना पड़ेगा। इस प्लेस का जो स्पेशल महत्व, जब आए यहाँ पे आकर उन्होंने क्या किया, अगर डिटेल्स मालूम है तो बताओ।
शंकराचार्य जी यहाँ पर आए सबसे पहले तो उन्होंने यहाँ पर आकर के अखंड ज्योति के दर्शन किए। जो अखंड ज्योति आपको ऊपर दर्शन किए होंगे अगर आपने, इस वृक्ष के, इस गुफा के ऊपर वृक्ष है
अखंड ज्योति। कहाँ?
अमरकल्प वृक्ष मंदिर में गए आप अभी ऊपर, वहाँ अंदर जाकर के साइड में ब्रैकेट के अंदर एक ज्योति जल रही है। अगर आप मंदिर के अंदर गए होंगे, आपने ध्यान दिया, वही ज्योति, वो ज्योति अखंड ज्योति, वो ज्योति तब से जल्दी आ रही है। तब से जब शंकराचार्य जी यहाँ पर आए।
यहाँ पे I'm not talking in Hindi. He says that after coming over here, शंकराचार्य जी ने एक ज्योति, एक फायर के रूप में, I am speaking in Hindi. So after coming over to this place, Shankaracharya had darshan of one small jyoti, small luster in the form of fire, blazing fire. Some kind of mystical divine effulgence in the form of fire. Agni के रूप में ज्योति दर्शन किया। So he is saying that when we went there to take darshana, in a corner one fire was blazing. He says, as he is claiming, that fire has been blazing, has been put on since then. And after having the darshana of that Jyoti, Shankaracharya actually lit one fire. उन्होंने अग्नि क्रिएट किया ना, अग्नि
क्रिएट नहीं किया, उनको दर्शन हुआ।
तो फायर के रूप में कब आया ज्योति?
फायर के रूप में शंकराचार्य जी को दर्शन हुआ यहाँ पर, जब शंकराचार्य जी यहाँ पर आए।
So the same fire kept us. वही फायर यहाँ पे है,
अभी भी है।
He is saying that what effulgence, teja, what effulgence Shankaracharya had darshan of, the kind of effulgence Shankaracharya had darshan of is in the form of fire itself, and that fire Shankaracharya somehow managed to keep, and that's still continuing. small fire. That small fire kept over there, still continuing since that time, but Shankaracharya caught off. He got hold of when he took darshan.
मैं आपको पूरा बताता हूँ एक बार में, तो मेरा फ्लो टूट जाएगा, वरना और भी है टाइम लग जाएगा। मैं आपको पूरा एक बार में बता देता हूँ। हाँ, तो ऐसा है, आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य जी यहाँ पे ज्योति के दर्शन किए थे, अखंड ज्योति का इनको दर्शन हुआ। उसी ज्योति के नाम से आदि गुरु शंकराचार्य जी ने इस क्षेत्र का नाम ज्योतिर्मठ रखा। जो आप पूछ रहे थे कि ज्योतिर्मठ की स्थापना कहाँ हुई, ये पूरा ही एक मठ है, इसका नाम पड़ा उस ज्योति के आधार पर।
मैं भी भूल जाऊंगा ना।
अच्छा, ठीक।
तो Jyoti means fiery effulgence. After having darshana, after beholding the divine, effulgence, luster in the form of fire, so she actually named this whole place as Jyoti, Jyotirmat. So that's how he established. He began a monastery surrounding that Jyoti. Okay, surrounding that Jyoti. He did not establish any temple or anything. He did not build up any kind of temple, but he settled, he started a monastery, living under a tree in semi-forest area like Tapuvana on the top of Himalaya. And he named of this monastery, named about this place after the name of that Jyoti. Jyoti means light, what he had darshan of. Yes.
उसके बाद शंकराचार्य जी ने 5 वर्ष यहाँ पर तपस्या की।
And thereafter he absorbed in meditation for 5 full years over here in this cave.
शंकराचार्य जब यहाँ पे आए थे तो केवल 11 वर्ष की अवस्था थी, 11। और जब 5 वर्ष यहाँ पे तपस्या की तो 16 वर्ष तक वो यहीं पे रहे, इसी स्थान में जहाँ पर आप बैठे हैं। ये उनका शयन कक्ष था। यहाँ पर आकर के
जब वो आए थे कितने वर्ष का?
11।
When he was 11 years old, he actually came over here and started doing tapasya, started doing his sadhana over this place. And when he reached the age of 16 years, तब क्या किया?
उसके बाद यहाँ पे 5 वर्ष तपस्या करने के बाद उन्हें ज्योति के दर्शन, मैंने आपको बताया,
11 से 16
5 वर्ष।
From 11 years of age up to 16 years of age, 5 years, he meditated over here. He performed his special tapasya or sadhana.
तपस्या करने के बाद उन्हें यहाँ पर आत्मज्ञान की प्राप्ति हुई, आत्मज्योति के दर्शन हुए।
And he received the darshan of Atmagyan. He then received this self-realization in relation to Param Brahma realization over this place. Okay, after doing sadhana for 5 long years. जो आए हैं वो डाको ना अंदर।
आप बताइए।
So after engaging, absorbing in his sadhana for 5 long years, he received self-knowledge, knowledge of his divine self-realization in relation to Param Brahma, and he was very happily fulfilled.
यहाँ पर 5 वर्ष तपस्या करने के बाद उन्हें यहाँ पर एक दिन एक आकाशवाणी हुआ। आकाशवाणी इसलिए हुआ क्योंकि सनातन धर्म की स्थापना के लिए भगवान शंकराचार्य जी का जन्म हुआ, जो कि यहाँ पर शंकराचार्य जी इसलिए आए थे क्योंकि यहाँ पर बौद्ध धर्म के लोगों द्वारा बहुत क्षतिग्रस्त मंदिर हमारे कर दिए गए थे। हमारा जो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट धाम है बद्री विशाल, वहाँ पे जाकर के बौद्धों ने भगवान बद्री विशाल जी की मूर्ति को जो उठा करके नारद कुंड में फेंक दिया था। तो ये बात भगवान शंकराचार्य जी को पता चली आकाशवाणी के द्वारा, जो कि वो यहाँ पर बैठ करके उन्हें हुई। उस आकाशवाणी के अनुसार भगवान शंकराचार्य जी यहाँ से बद्रीनाथ गए। बद्रीनाथ में जाकर के उन्होंने बौद्ध धर्म के लोगों के साथ शास्त्र किया। शास्त्र में जब बौद्ध धर्म के लोग पराजित हो गए, वो जब हार गए बुरी तरीके से, तो वो यहाँ से चले गए थे। उसके बाद भगवान शंकराचार्य जी ने नारद कुंड में जाकर के वो मूर्ति निकाली। मूर्ति निकालने के बाद वहाँ पर पुनः स्थापित प्रतिष्ठित की और उनकी पूजा अर्चना पुनः प्रारंभ करवाई।
So after receiving some siddhi, after receiving his divine self-realization in relation to his Brahma realization, thereafter at some point, as he was spending more time over here, all of a sudden one day he received some Akashabani, and divine voice came from the spiritual sky. He heard, and that Akashabani, his divine message came down, revealed, manifested from the spiritual sky, which informed him about the Badrinath, about some unfavorable situation of the deity of the Badrinath Jew, Narayana deity. But some of the Buddhist monk, they took it out and threw it away. So Shankaracharya was directed through that spiritual, higher spiritual voice came down from divine sky to go to Badrinath, restored Badrinath Ji deity, and take proper care of that by restoring back its glories. And following that, Shankaracharya went to Badrinath, and at that time it was all occupied by Buddhist monks, who are not respectful to the Badrinath Ji. So Shankaracharya invited them he openly invited them, challenged them to sit with him with his spiritual argument, with the philosophical arguments with him, and they had no choice, so they sat with Sankaracharya, accepting his invitation. They sat with Sankaracharya and engaged in the philosophical arguments, and Sankaracharya eventually defeated all the Buddhist monks over there, and they also accepted the defeat. Then Shankaracharya, with his special power and powerful influence, refound that Badrinath deity. और उन्होंने ढूंढ लिया ना Badrinath जी की deity. We found that Badrinath deity and found out by inquiring also from them where they threw it out, and with great respect, with very proper and high honor and respect, he restored Badrinath deity and reinstalled in the Badrinath temple. And thereafter also, and he recontinued, restored all the worshippings, all the venerable worships of Badrinarayana inside Badrinath temple. And the Buddhist monks all took leave. This place was also influenced by Buddhist monks after Shankaracharya came, so they could not be facing him, so he had some special influence and some power. So slow but steady way, little by little they all left this place. और क्या है?
उसके बाद शंकराचार्य जी ने जो हमारे और मठ मंदिर थे जो तोड़ दिए गए थे उनको स्थापित किया। उसके बाद भगवान शंकराचार्य जी ने यहाँ पर रह करके जो पहला मठ मैंने आपको बताया कि ज्योतिर्मठ की स्थापना की। उसके बाद भगवान शंकराचार्य
यहाँ पे उन्होंने कोई डीटी इंस्टॉल नहीं किया। यहाँ पे ये जो
सनातन मंदिर जो ऐसे वो हो गए थे,
ऐसे ही है, निराकार तरीका से पूजा करते थे। So, but he did not install any deity of God over here. He continued worshipping Supreme God through impersonal meditation, following his impersonal way. So he just started an ashram over here, but without installing any deity or anything like that. But he continued with his impersonal way of the worships of God through meditations, dhanam, devotional contemplation in this way. And but on many other places around India, many of the Hindu temples got dishonored and damaged by the invasion of some Buddhist culture. See, many of the Indian temples got damaged, ruined by Islamic invasion, also some parts by Buddhist culture, because they are Buddhist monks who are atheists, so they are not worshipper of the deities, although there are some arguments on that, because many of the Buddhists also continue to worship some of the deities in the form of Lord Buddha deity. They keep some rituals, and in many ritualistic way they form many things and they use for worshipping. So, but they don't worship any deity of God because they don't believe in God. But Shankaracharya restored all those temples and old Vedic places with the deities being worshipped there, which got very much disturbed, which got badly affected and disturbed by a Buddhist culture. So he restored back all of them with high honor, fighting against that atheist Buddhism. In that way, he restarted everything on high respect and glory again. Okay? That's all. This is in brief Shankaracharya's contribution. Nice, very nice. And this paduka, these sleepers we see, is it original or later on it is prepared? These sleepers, wooden sleepers we see here, okay, it is created later on, naturally.
प्रतीक चिन्ह मान के रखा है।
प्रतीक चिन्ह मान के। Where are the original shows?
ओरिजिनल वो जब साथ गए होंगे तो अपने साथ ले गए, लेकिन जिनका प्रतीक चिन्ह यहाँ पे जब ये गुफा का वो हुआ तो यहाँ पर ये रखे हुए थे इस गुफा में।
कहाँ गए हो ओरिजिनल?
अपने साथ लेके होंगे। पहले बद्रीनाथ गए, बद्रीनाथ जाने के बाद एक केदारनाथ में भी है, केदारनाथ में उनका
शंकराचार्य के असली जो पोशाक परिच्छद और से और जूते और जो बैग जो उन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया, व्यवहार किया, वहाँ कहाँ पे रखा गया?
जो उन्होंने इस्तेमाल किया था
लेके तो साथ में लेके गए, कहीं ना कहीं तो है
लेके गए हैं, लेकिन केदारनाथ में भी कुछ मिलता है, कुछ बद्रीनाथ में मिलता है, कुछ यहाँ पर मिलता है। केदारनाथ में उनकी समाधि स्थल है। तो शंकराचार्य जी ने सब कार्य कर दिया।
शंकराचार्य जी also has got great special contribution to support केदारनाथ। उन्होंने केदारनाथ के केदारनाथ डीटी को पुनः स्थापन किए हैं।
केदारनाथ में जाके भी किया था। हाँ, केदारनाथ में जाकर के उन्होंने मठ मंदिर स्थापन किया।
बुद्धिस्ट monk, बुद्धिस्ट सन्यासी इन्हें आक्रमण किया वहाँ पे भी। तो केदारनाथ में भी केदारनाथ डीटी he also restored and reinstalled Kedarnath deity, Kedarnath Badrinath. Therefore, we still find a great influence of the line of Shankaracharya's worshipping, even in Badrinath temple. Although it's purely Vishnu Puja. Purely it is the tradition of the worshipping of Lord Vishnu. But Shankaracharya restored and restarted the worshipping of Lord Vishnu over there with so much honor, and reverence. And still they are following the ways as Sankaracharya established. The ways of the worshipping of Lord Vishnu over there as Sankaracharya established in this way. So Shankaracharya ji also made some special contribution in the worshipping, in the field of worshipping Lord Vishnu also. In this way. And not only he started worshipping, not only he restored our Vishnu deity, original Vishnu deity or Kedarnath Lord Shiva deity, but he also arranged for daily worshipping. He arranged to continue their worshipping, okay, on high respect, with high honor. These are special contributions of Sankaracharya. These are one of the main causes Mahaprabhu asked us to give all due respects, show all due respects to Sankaracharya ji. At least in a relative, in a high class relative way. Not in absolute sense, though, but in a high class relative sense. Mahaprabhu wanted us to give show all due respects to him as deserved by this great personality. This way. Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. All glory to the empowered incarnation of Shiva Shambhu Maharaj, Srimad Shankaracharya ki jai.